Hello and welcome to my Fluffal deck profile. It is a pointless but very fun deck, which I highly recommend if you have the spare pennies for it. Very fun. I guess we'll just jump right in. I'll explain how the deck works and how probably my way to play it. So, we start off with Fluffal Dog. It is a rotor. It is mandatory at 3, and, well, it also searches Edge Imp Sabres. Now, obviously none of the Fluffals can actually search Chain, which is why you got to play Patchwork and Abundance of Chain because it came later. But Sabres seems to be attached to the cards. But the most important board breakers actually belong to Sabres, but the ones that actually secure the games belong to Chain, which is why we need to play an abundance of them. Then we play 3 Pingu. He's a Pot of Greed and gives you a free special summon from hand, and yet this deck still manages to be bad. You get his Pog effect off of if you fusion summon it, so use it as a material, which allows you to draw 2, discard 1, but you don't mind loading the grave up because it's got a Miracle Fusion, and Wings is also a Pot of Greed. So we play Fluffal Bear because we need to rotate in Toy Vendor. Now, Toy Vendor is like a duality for Fluffals, which reveals 1 card off the top of the deck and never resolves. So on paper it's brilliant, but it never works. I've never seen it resolve properly, even myself playing this deck. And then, obviously, it's on field effect, you can normal summon it, tribute it, search a Polymerization. So pretty good card. Then we play 2 Fluffal Wings. It doesn't do anything in hand, it's better off in the grave, which is why we only play 2 because it's still fusion material, and you've still got a couple if you need to go into turn 3 or 4. So it's just a good card. And then Fluffal Owl, you pay 500, you can search a poly, and then obviously it's itself is a poly on field. So if you don't have an extra copy of poly, you go for this guy, and he just gives you an extra free fusion. So those are the Fluffals. And then we have the monsters that turn them evil. We have 3 Edge Imp Chain and Edge Imp Sabres. As I say, Sabres is the most important, but be warned, the cards that Sabres summons are not that big. And then Sabres obviously summons the ones that end up securing the game because they're actually half beefy. And then we also have Foolish Burial Goods. This is the best Fluffal card in the deck. Why do I say that? Well, when Toy Vendor is sent to the grave, you get a rotor, and it is a non-once per turn. And its on-field effect is also a soft once per turn. And yet this deck still manages to be terrible. It has 8, 9 rotors, and then it's also got 6 pogs. Like, bloody hell. As if it needs more. Frightfur Patchwork, it's a +1. Like, it gives you a poly, and it gives you an Edge Imp Sabres, which is the only reason the deck functions. You make the nasty fusions by morphing it with the cute little bunnies and penguins. The Polymerization, because you actually need a fusion summon for this deck to work. I know it's old school and we'd rather be contact fusing and we'd rather be fusion summoning from deck, but no, this is an old school version, which is probably why it's bad. And then we have Miracle Fusion. We only play it at 1. It is searchable, right? You don't need it at more than 1. Loading up the grave is hard enough. It's quite optimistic that we're even playing it at all because we're arrogant enough to assume that we're going to load the grave up and get past 2 cards being played. And that is the entire Fluffal engine. And then obviously we've got to pair this deck with the Branded engine, 3 Branded Fusion and Albaz. Because you're going second, you're going to have 6 in hand. You don't mind loading the grave up. So you start with Lubellion, and then you can use, so you shuffle back your Albaz, and then next turn you can also opt in for the Albion. Now, Branded Fusion is also a nice little starter as well. You can open with it because you can send Wings if you need that engraved because it's a light. You can also send Edge Imp Chain to then search your Patchwork and then get a million pluses. So there is a nice lot of synergy with Branded Fusion. It belongs with the deck and isn't intended for evil like the actual Pro Branded deck is. Because that deck sucks. And then we obviously play heroes. because we need something in the deck to resolve. At the end of the turn, if we haven't managed to put anything out because Branded Fusion got ashed or we got drolled or something really bad happened, we can always activate this at the end of the turn, and DPE is not a fair card. So we have half a chance of pretending we put up a fight. So yeah, as I say, we'd rather be playing cards that are just not Fluffals. And then to put our opponent in a false sense of security, we play Board Breakers and get their worries up for a brief moment because they think they're going to lose if they get unfairly Dark Ruler No More or Lightning Storm. Dark Ruler No More is just the most semi-unfair like board breaker. Shuts off a full negate board. Very good. And will actually open you up for a few plays. Lightning Storm, sadly players have started becoming wiser and putting the things in defense position because they're tired of getting Lightning Storm when they put all the negates in attack or interruptions. And then obviously we have a little control insurance on it because it also wipes the back row because that is fair. And then Instant Fusion, well, if your opponent has a loaded hand, we're probably going to opt in for Millennium-Eyes Restrict, although it is very good going into a combo board, so we can respond to negation. But it's mostly insurance against hand traps, because Ash and Droll are a killer against this deck. And obviously, Thousand Eyes Restrict puts in work because it just can yoink the threat that is on the board that is preventing you from doing stuff. Unless the threat on the board is preventing you from fusion summoning, in which case you should just scoop and quit the game and take up Magic. And then we get to the extra deck. We have Frightfur Tiger. It is the best board breaker in the game. The sad thing is, it is tiny. Has no chance at all at OTKing. So if you use 18 materials with this, sure, you've cleared off 10 cards and their entire deck, but they're going to have enough time to crack back and kill you before you kill them with this card. So you're going to have to play big things. Sabre-Tooth, it reborns a fusion. It's very good, and obviously they all get a big boost, and depending on what you use to fusion it, it can become a little towers, but again, you can beat over it. It's not that big. It's 2/4 that can go to 2/8. Its sole purpose is so that you summon Kraken first, you send a card on the field with Kraken, a monster strictly, so it's not good against back row, which is why you need to play Tiger. And then Sabre-Tooth obviously reborns this card after you've fusion summoned this off to make another Frightfur. Because if it uses the send effect, it can't attack twice the same turn, but when you reborn it, it's no longer been burnt because it's soft once per turn, so you just loop it that way. Frightfur Wolf, you play one of it because sometimes it will just secure you games. You summon this off the Miracle Fusion with like 12 materials, it won't make the slightest bit of difference because even though it gains attack up to attacks up to the amount of fusion materials you use, it is only 2k and will have no chance of cracking a board, hence why you have to play Tiger. Then we play Cruel Whale. It's a nice little cool rotor in that sense. Obviously, we don't bother playing Scythe because popping things in our opponent's turn eats up the hand. We actually need our hand. The best thing to do is to cut down on the engine as much as possible. It's just a nice little rotor and a pop. And then obviously we have Millennium-Eyes Restrict and Thousand Eyes Restrict, so we can break the board or insulate against hand traps. DPE because this thing just keeps coming back and can reduce our opponent's attack, which then allows an easier OTK for Wolf. Or, you know, it allows us to beat over things that would be naturally a lot bigger than the Frightfurs because they're not that big anyway. So it's a very good card. And then we have Albion and Lubellion as our starting fusions for the branded engine. And then the double Mirrorjade because we can obviously recur back the Albaz with Lubellion first. Follow it with the Albion. It depends on whether or not you would need the Wings or the Sabres as a starter. So it doesn't matter. If you're secure in the game, you can go Albion first if you need the Wings, or, you know, go from whatever you feel's better. And then Cross Sheep. Occasionally, you're just not going to get fusion locked, and you can generate a lot of advantage just by linking off Kraken, if that's the case, to summon Sabres that way, and getting advantage off Cross Sheep. Or instead of having to worry about fusion summoning Kraken away into something else that you don't want to be doing. But yeah, that is the deck. On paper, it is quite unfair and has a lot of pogs, it has a lot of rotors, it has a lot of synergy with branding for some reason, but that doesn't make the deck good, sadly. It might have its time one day if it gets support, who knows. So, tell me what you think, tell me how you play this wonderful deck, you know, tell me, like maybe you have suggestions, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. I'm kind of tired now. I think I'll go home.